Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very, very great day to speak about the history of our legal system, and to be precise, the Federated Malay States. Okay, my name is Izra Ibrahim Razali, and all of my friends, my clever scholar mate, will discuss more about this. Let's get into it.
While the, while the Strait settlements were colonized under direct British rule, the rest of the states in Peninsular Malaysia were ruled by sultans who were embroiled in various succession disputes in their respective states. In the tin-rich states of Perak, succession disputes became intertwined with disputes between Chinese secret societies for possession of the rich tin deposits. British intervention in these disputes consolidated British political power in the Malay states. Treaties were entered into whereby, in return for British protection, it was agreed that the Sultan receive and provide a suitable residence for a British officer to be called a resident, who shall be accredited to his court and whose advice must be asked and acted upon all questions other than those touching upon Islam religion and Malay custom. With the signing of the Treaty of Federation 1895, four states, which are Perak, Selangor, Negeri Sembilan and Pahang, became the protected states, or more commonly known as the Federated Malay States. Administrative coordination was achieved by the Governor of the Strait Settlements, who was concurrently designated the High Commissioner of the Federated Malay States. Legislation was enacted by the Federal Council Constitute in 1909 with the rulers as members. This arrangement continued until the amalgamation of all states by the British military administration in 1946 to form the Malayan Union.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. My name is Arif Izzuddin bin Muhammad Zulkifli, and I'm gonna touch about the structure of the Federated Malay State. So at the top of the list would be the British High Commissioner for the Federated Malay State, which we call in Bahasa Pesuruhjaya Tinggi British, because we all learn sejarah in Bahasa, right? So as for the fun fact, the Pesuruhjaya Tinggi British really resides in Kuala Lumpur, Taman Tasik Perdana, which back then is called King House, their residence. And this is where the important meetings and discussion took place for the very important persons such as the British residents and also the royalties. So below the British High Commissioner resides the British Resident General, which also resides in Kuala Lumpur because it is center of the Federated Malay States at that time. And below the Resident General, we got Majlis Mesyuarat, which is divided into every and each state of the Federated Malay State, which consists of Majlis Mesyuarat Negeri Pahang, Majlis Mesyuarat Negeri Perak, Majlis Mesyuarat Negeri Selangor, and Majlis Mesyuarat Negeri Sembilan.
As you can see on the screen, this is the flag of Federated Malay States. The combinations of four colours of the shield represents the colours of each state in Federated Malay States. Red and yellow stand as Selangor, black, white and yellow stands for Perak, red, black and yellow is Negeri Sembilan, and black and white is for Pahang. The coat of arms of the Federated Malay States featured a shield guarded by two tigers. On the top of the shield is the crown, known as the crown in English heraldry, symbolizing the federation of monarchies under protection of the United Kingdom. A banner with the phrase "Dipilih oleh Allah," which means under God's protection, was printed in Jawi located underneath the shield.
Good morning, madam. I am Durgeshwari, daughter of Ravi, from Bachelor in Law and Commerce. Now, I shall speak a brief about the law used during the Federated Malay States era. Prior to the Federation in December 1909, the Council of each of the four states, namely Perak, Selangor, Negeri Sembilan, and Pahang, passed their own laws, many of which were identical in all four states. Since the Federation, all legislation common to the four states is enacted by the Federal Council, but each council continues to legislate for matters peculiar to its own state. I found this one from the book that compiled all the law used by each state under the Federated Malay States.
As I have mentioned earlier about the system that govern the Federated Malay States, which is the residential system. I can say that the residential system is a form of informal law being applied in our country. A British resident was appointed in each state, and their job is to advise the Sultan on all the matters of administration and government except those concerning Malay religion and custom. Meaning here to say that this is the same concept as we are today, as how our Prime Minister give the advice to our Yang di-Pertuan Agong, and the advice is basically, it's not just the advice, it is the term of the advice is more than that. The Sultan remained as the head of state. The resident was there to advise, but not to rule. But like I've mentioned before, the concept of advice is different than we understand, because it is the concept that applied impliedly. The Sultan was obliged to act on residents' advice.
As we were talking about the Federated Malay State, I think it'd be inappropriate if I don't touch about the famous tale of the killing of J.W.W. Birch by our hero Datuk Maharaja Lela. This basically happens because the Pesuruhjaya Tinggi British, with the resident general, every and each resident resides at every and each states of the Federated Malay state, have power to rule everyone back then, and the sultans at every each of the states have reduced its power overly only to touch the matter related to Malay custom and religion. That only. They have nothing to say in ruling the country. So, yeah, it is overly reduced into a useless amount of power. Foreign dignitaries have begun to feel that the introduction of the system really eroded the power from the resident king, also the Malay chieftain, and back then they held the meeting at a place called Durian Subatang. This is when the idea of killing of the J.W.W. Birch came out. At the meeting, Datuk Maharaja Lela had agreed of the idea for the killing of J.W.W. Birch and asked his man, which is Panda Andut, Kulok Ali, Si Putum, Ngah Jabar, and Setua to carry out the task for the killing. Finally, on November 2nd, 1875, J.W.W. Birch have been successfully killed in a place named Pasisala, Kampung Gajah, while he was taking a bath. I think he did die in his birthday suit, right? And yeah, the clerk also, J.W.W. Birch, clerks, has also been killed in the incidents. Yeah, that sounds fortunate.
Malaysia is more than just a country. This is our home, our land, our place where we are willing to sacrifice every single thing to defend our motherland. Let the history lesson today remind us that we must.
Kami binata madun, lihat rangkap-rangkap pantun hidup beratus tahun. Bangkit 1000 perwira, selamat sejuta insan. Gelap dalam matahari insan, juga bisa insaf. Mana cerita panglima yang wujud benar. Awang hitam kaji awan putih bila berlayar. Hamba keliling dunia, tuannya yang terkenal. Dah merdeka di jasad, harus bebas di akal. Hatiku tetap hanya padamu, keranamu aku tanpamu cita-cita hanya kekal sebagai mimpi. Semuanya bermula dari sini. Negaraku, negaraku.